The bar was called the Rusted Valve, a seedy watering hole tucked in the underbelly of Bradbury Crater Colony on Mars. The air inside reeked of ethanol vapors and engine grease, with neon signs flickering between English, Mandarin, and the newly introduced galactic standard. No one paid much attention to the shimmering diplomat sitting in the far corner, cradling a steaming bowl of something that looked alive and occasionally hissed. That was until Danny Trask stumbled in. Danny was 3 vodkas past good judgment and had just lost a week's pay betting on Martian hoverboxing. His mood? Volcanic. His grip on reality? Slippery. He scanned the bar, seeking a fight like a bull with a hangover, and locked eyes on the least human thing in the room. The alien was tall, cloaked in silks that shimmered like oil on water. 8 limbs, 2 of them coiled around a translator sphere. Its name was Ambassador VRRCHH of the THKL Imperium, and it had arrived to initiate formal peace talks between Earth and the galactic community. A historic moment, the culmination of decades of silent observation and interstellar calculus. Danny belched. "You think you're better than us, huh?" He slurred, weaving through overturned stools and startled patrons. "Sitting like a damn squid Buddha." VRRCHH tilted its head, which resembled a flowering anemone more than anything else. The translator sphere glowed, voice calm and modulated. "I offer peaceful greetings to the children of Terra. We bring knowledge and—" Danny threw a bottle. The bar fell silent the moment it shattered against VRRCHH's frontal lobe. Glowing ichor dripped onto the floor. One of its limbs twitched. The diplomat froze, then rose, slowly, gracefully, impossibly tall as it towered over Danny. "You have struck the speaker," the translator buzzed. Danny hiccuped. "Damn right I did." The alien lifted 2 limbs in what seemed like a ceremonial gesture. The room tensed. Someone dropped a glass. "By the edicts of Ol Karak, the unyielding, this insult demands blooded reckoning." "What?" Danny blinked. "You have issued a sacred challenge. Earth is recognized. Homeworld of the fierce. Warborn. Flame-breathed. None may deny you now." Then it bowed. 3 more Tichkali rose from the shadows, their tentacles writhing in what would later be described as applause. A 4th unfurled a banner from somewhere beneath its robes, red and black, bearing a symbol that hadn't existed 5 seconds ago, a clenched human fist wrapped in tentacles. The next day, Earth woke up to find that it had skipped every known diplomatic step and gone straight to being crowned a galactic warrior race. The United Nations were flooded with alien emissaries offering tribute, obsidian-edged weapons from the Scorvin Forge moons, genetically engineered beast bred for arena combat, and what appeared to be a planet-sized war barge known only as the Honor Fawn. All because Danny Trask had a short fuse and terrible aim. News outlets scrambled. Humanity, Warriors of the Void, was the top headline. Recruitment offices on Earth and Mars had lines stretching around city blocks. Sci-fi authors were hired as government consultants. The Pentagon quietly ordered every general to grow beards and carry swords. And Danny? Well, he was gone, vanished, abducted by the THKLE to serve as a living embodiment of what they called the Fist Doctrine. His last known transmission was a grainy video of him chugging something that ignited on contact with air, followed by him headbutting a 6-eyed alien twice his size. Somewhere on the edge of the Orion Arm, tales began spreading of a wild-eyed Terran known as Danny the First, a being who challenged warlords to bar fights, solved disputes by flipping tables, and once insulted an entire tribunal by belching mid-ceremony. And survived. Back on Mars, the dive bar had become a shrine. They left the cracked bottle glued to the wall, surrounded by glowing offerings from half a dozen species. A plaque underneath read, "Peace talks ended with a bottle to the face. We've been legends ever since." No one mentioned that it was accidental. Didn't matter, because war banners now bore human slogans. Battle chants started with "Oi" and ended with "Hold my drink." Other species began mimicking human profanity as part of ceremonial war rites. The galaxy had seen the worst of us in a dive bar and declared it divine. And in the dark expanse between stars, ships now carried Terran names, Bloody Knuckle, Last call, no regrets. When a conflict arose, diplomats turned to their human advisors and asked, with the utmost reverence, "Shall we settle this the Terran way?" And across the stars, someone always grinned and replied, "Let's find a bar." It didn't take long for humanity to lean in. The Martian Council, freshly renamed the Terran Conclave of Blunt Instruments, issued new uniforms to its diplomats, leather jackets with the phrase "Come at me," BRO embroidered in 14 languages. Harvard created a dual degree in xenolinguistics and trash talk. McDonald's launched a galactic menu featuring the space punch combo. Earth wasn't just adapting to its new identity, it was thriving in it. The first real test came 6 weeks after the bar fight heard round the stars. A mining dispute flared up on the neutral moon of Axon 5. Two ancient spacefaring species, the moss-like Valkyrie and the crystalline Ilex, claimed ownership. Negotiations stalled. Threats were exchanged. Fleets positioned. The Valkyrie summoned humanity. "We sent Grandma." Not a joke. Her name was Agnes Waller, 76, bingo champion of Lunar Sector 12, and the oldest bartender still working full-time at the Rusted Valve. She was flown in on a repurposed cargo ship rebranded USS Last Nerve, greeted by a carpet of bioluminescent algae and a crowd of Valkyrie dignitaries. Agnes squinted at them, lit a cigarette, and said, "You want the rock, you fight for it." Bottle and brawl. The Ilex arrived with ceremonial drums and laser-etched grievance scrolls. Agnes snapped her fingers and handed them each a frosted mug of Martian fire ale. 10 minutes later, a full-on tavern had been assembled in the moon's central crater, complete with a jukebox playing Earth's classics. The duel commenced over a game of darts and ended in a friendly arm-wrestling match that cracked the table in half. Axon 5 was declared neutral, and humanity's legend grew. They called it the Way of the Broken Stool. It became doctrine. Medals were issued in the shape of shattered glass. Monuments rose, statues of humans mid-swing, fists poised, drinks sloshing mid-air. There was even a holiday, Intergalactic Combat Diplomacy Day, celebrated with drunken karaoke and controlled brawls in zero gravity. But not everyone was thrilled. Deep in the galactic bureaucratic core, on the sterile world of Ventraxis Prime, the chancellors of order, tall, insectal beings with perfect symmetry and no tolerance for chaos, were losing what passed for their minds. They're rewarding violence, his Chancellor ZYRX. Random, unpredictable, unprocessed human violence. Controlled chaos, muttered his assistant. Some species call it inspiring. ZYRX snapped a mandible. It's madness. We've spent millennia building a council based on reason, on logic, and they threw a chair and got a seat at the table. The assistant finished. Plans were drafted. Alliances whispered. There were those who saw humanity's rise not as a glorious evolution, but as an infestation. But back on Earth, no one cared. Sports leagues merged with interstellar gladiator tournaments. Reality shows launched. Who Wants to Bar, Fight, a T.H. Cayley? Became an instant hit. Teenage humans were getting scholarships for sarcastic diplomacy and barroom strategy. Danny the First was printed on T-shirts, hollow posters, and plasma-forged mugs. His face was etched into the side of a small moon gifted by the Molnari Empire. And somewhere, deep in Teach Cayley's space, aboard the Honor Fong, Danny stood on a balcony overlooking thousands of cheering warriors. He wore armor made of alloyed bone and steel, a tankard permanently magnetized to his belt, and a cloak woven from the skins of creatures that only screamed once. A young T.H. Cayley acolyte approached, bowing low. "Danny the First," it said, "another conflict brews. The Glimmerers seek to challenge Earth's claim over the ring of void salt. They ask for arbitration." Danny scratched his chin, grinned wide, and cracked his knuckles. Set course for their embassy. He grabbed a fresh bottle, twisted it open with his teeth. "And find me a damn table to flip." The Honor Fong thundered through slip space, a cathedral of alloy and alcohol, its hull painted with crude depictions of human brawls, each an official battle sigil. Entire fleets moved aside to let it pass. No one wanted to accidentally provoke the avatar of violence and toasts, as Danny had been dubbed in the Glimmer dialect. The Glimmera were not known for emotion. They were translucent, almost aquatic, brains visible through their gelatinous craniums, brilliant strategists, utterly humorless. Their embassy orbited a dead star, a black glass palace where sound was absorbed, not echoed. It was their way, their pride. So naturally, Danny arrived wearing flip-flops and a tank top that said diplomacy is just foreplay. He stepped into the main hall, flanked by two tentacled honor guards who towered like gods and trembled like interns. Ahead, the Glimmera Chancellor, a slippery creature suspended in a vat of neural fluid, spoke without moving its lips. We request arbitration over the ring of void salt. Human colonies have claimed proximity rights. We contest this. Danny walked up, nodding slowly, eyes scanning the pristine black marble around them. You know, he said this place could use a bar. The Chancellor blinked all four eyelids. That is irrelevant. Danny turned, cracked his neck, and dropped a crate on the floor. Bottles clinked. A battered, folding table followed. Two chairs. A speaker cube that immediately began playing a lo-fi remix of Earth jazz and Viking war chants. He sat down. Let's settle this like galactic grown-ups. The Glimmera rippled in dismay. You mean a contest? Danny leaned forward, tapping a finger on the table. Nah, friend. I mean a challenge. If your representative can beat me in a bar game of my choosing, Earth gives up the claim. If I win, you rename the ring to Danny's coaster and I shut up forever. Silence fell like gravity. Moments later, a Glimmera dual tactician emerged, bristling with artificial limbs and augmented reflex nodes. Danny offered him a glass of something that smoked blue and melted part of the table. Darts, Danny said. The alien blinked. Explain. You throw sharp things while drunk and angry. Highest score wins. First to insult the other's mother gets bonus points. The room watched, breath held, as the game unfolded. Each throw was chaos incarnate. The Glimmera missed the board entirely on their first shot. Danny, halfway through his fourth drink, laughed so hard he nearly fell over. But he never missed. By the end of it, Danny stood swaying, arms raised in triumph, the alien writhing in what might have been shame or mild alcohol poisoning. The tentacled roared in triumph, banging their spears together in a rhythm that would later become a galactic rock anthem. The Chancellor, to its credit, honored the deal. The Ring of Void Salt was officially renamed Danny's Coaster, with an asterisk noting, site of the greatest throw ever seen. The official galactic map updated within the hour. But didn't stop there. Other species began calling for Danny-style diplomacy. A formal style of resolution was born, conflict by controlled chaos. The rules were loose. The environment always loud. The drinks mandatory. Whole regions of the galaxy converted their high councils into pubs. Laws were rewritten with clauses like if tensions escalate beyond acceptable snark levels, initiate the drinking duel protocol. Of course, not everyone could keep up. The Obrex Confederation sent a robot ambassador who fried its processors trying to understand sarcasm. The Centauri Collective began worshipping Danny as a demigod of disruption. Cults formed. Rituals were held. On some backwater moons, bargoers raised their glasses nightly, chanting, "May your fists fly faster than your regrets." And deep in the bureaucratic core, Chancellor Zoarax watched it all unfold with a slow, cold rage. "They're infecting everything," ZYRX hissed, watching a clip of a peace treaty ratified through a karaoke duel. "If this continues, galactic law will mean nothing." The assistant fidgeted. "What do we do?" The Chancellor turned, 6 eyes narrowed. "We fight them. On their terms." "You mean?" ZYRX nodded grimly. "We build a bar. And somewhere, far from all this, on a mining outpost near Jupiter's third moon, a young bartender in training heard the tales and practiced his throws. Because on Earth now, every child knew that if peace failed, if talks broke down, if words weren't enough. You stood up, you grabbed a bottle, and you made history. The bureaucratic core's attempt was called the Concordant Pint. It was a marvel of symmetry, constructed with gravity-neutral floors, balanced lighting at precisely 650 lumens, and sound-dampening fields calibrated to perfection. Every coaster was aligned. Every glass was identical. The walls were etched with the rules of engagement in 6,000 languages. Etched, not painted. It was in every way a disaster. The first humans invited, 2 grad students from the University of Earth-Mars with degrees in interstellar party anthropology, walked in, took one look around, and whispered, "This place has the vibe of a funeral for a spreadsheet." ZYRX had tried. He had even studied Earth's history, hoping to engineer the perfect human conflict simulation. He downloaded every brawl scene from human cinema and ordered his engineers to recreate them in a lab. He practiced frowning in mirrors. He commissioned a diplomatic insult algorithm. But when the humans sat down, ordered around, and tried to start a casual fight with a passing ilix, no one took the bait. No music played, no beer was spilled, and someone politely wiped the table between rounds. "This isn't a bar," muttered one of the humans. "This is a hostage situation with furniture." Worse yet, one of the galactic interns live-streamed the event. Within hours, memes flooded the Galnet. When your bar has rules longer than your drinks menu. First contact? More like first contract. ZYRX, 0. Humanity, 10,000 and counting. Danny saw the footage from a zero-grav fight pit on Zarnith 4, where he was refereeing a tag-team showdown between cybernetically enhanced orc things and a bachelorette party from Earth. He didn't say much, just shook his head, took a long sip of a drink that was technically illegal in 6 sectors, and muttered, "You can't code chaos." Back on Earth, Danny's law was passed with nearly unanimous support across all major planetary alliances. All official diplomatic envoys must include a cultural chaos specialist, a bottle of homebrew, and a foldable table. As a result, human delegations now traveled with what was affectionately known as the Six-Pack Pack, a team of professionally trained bar diplomats with specialties like dramatic table entry, intergalactic arm wrestling mediation, and passive-aggressive toasts. These specialists were in demand. Kids grew up dreaming not of being astronauts, but brawl ambassadors. New universities opened to teach applied diplomacy in mayhem. Scholarships were awarded for winning public arguments with flair. Humanity had become the wild card of the galaxy. The unwritten rule was simple. If you invite Earth to the table, expect to leave with a bruise, a hangover, and a treaty that works. Even the THK, once stoic and reserved, had started adopting human traditions. Tentacle tattoo parlors, drinking songs, honor duels involving darts and sarcasm. One of their admirals got court-martialed for shouting, "Let's go," before launching a peace mission. But not all saw this as progress. In the far reaches, a darker coalition stirred. Races who had once held dominance, now reduced to punchlines. They whispered of a reckoning, of restoring the old order, the silent dominion of logic over laughter, protocol over unpredictability. They called themselves the Silent Accord. Their mission was simple: strip humanity of its myth, tear down the legend, prove that Earthlings were not warriors, but drunken fools who got lucky. And they had a plan, a trap. It would start with a staged conflict on the fringes of neutral space, innocent enough to draw a Terran response. A bar, just like the others. A challenge, issued in perfect imitation. But this time the bottle would miss. The punch would land too early. The table would break too soon. And humanity would be recorded failing. But what they didn't understand, what they could never understand, was that failure was part of the dance. That the legend wasn't built on perfection, but persistence. That the true Terran doctrine was this: if you fall, you get back up. You buy another round, and you throw the next punch harder. Because in the end, humanity didn't win by always being right. We won by always showing up to the fight. The trap was set on a fringe world named Trinex Delta, a dust ball hanging off the edge of Sector 29 like a forgotten boot. The bar, called the Gravity Well, was a near-perfect replica of the rusted valve, down to the cracked floor tiles and that one flickering neon sign that always buzzed. The air was artificially humid, the crowd intentionally rowdy, the drinks engineered to imitate Martian fire ale. But it wasn't real. The patrons were mercenaries and deep-cover agents from the Silent Accord. Their mission: humiliate the humans. Strip them of their aura of unpredictability. Record the whole thing. Broadcast it live across 1,000 systems. Break the legend. and they sent their best. A manufactured offense was staged. A spilled drink, a slow shove, a challenge issued in perfect, gruff Terran standard. The trap was spring-loaded with surveillance drones, audio captures, even neuroreactive feedback nodes tuned to catch the exact moment a myth shattered. They expected a swaggering brute, some loud-mouthed earthling full of pride and just enough liquor. What they got was Agnes Waller. Again, now 82, and still the only human to win a three-way drinking contest while standing on one leg in 0G. She arrived with a battered suitcase, a crumpled t-shirt that read "Still Kickin'," and a cane that doubled as a collapsible stool. She ordered something the bartender didn't recognize, and then, just as she sat, some overeager silent accord operative accidentally spilled a drink on her lap. "Oh," Agnes said, calm as a tomb. "I challenge you," the operative barked, stepping back to signal the start of the pre-planned humiliation. Agnes slowly stood. She didn't look mad. She didn't even look amused. She looked bored. "I've buried better men than you after breakfast," she said. Then she twisted the top off a flask labeled emergency and took a long, deliberate sip. Game of shuffle brawl. 2 teams. No weapons. 1 table. First one unconscious loses. That wasn't in the script. The silent accord operative hesitated, signaling to his handler. Agnes was already laying out coasters like they were landmines. The bar's energy shifted. Real or not, the moment had turned. The trap was sprung, but not by them. Word got out, and that was the real mistake. You don't isolate a Terran in a bar fight, because others always show up. From orbit, ships bearing Earth colors began dropping out of slip space like dominoes tipped by gravity itself. Not warships, no. Civilian junkers. Battered freighters. 1 ship with a painted banner. Don't start none on the port side, and won't be none on the starboard. Outpoured humanity's worst and best. Off-duty Marines, rogue poets, retired miners, karaoke champions, off-brand philosophers. People with debts and broken teeth and hearts held together with duct tape and old love songs. They didn't ask what the fight was about. They saw Agnes. They saw the crowd. They stepped in. The silent accord realized too late. They hadn't trapped humanity. They had invited it. You throw a punch at one of us, you get all of us. The lights flickered. Music, unplanned, uninvited, started from a rogue speaker playing Thunderstruck. The fight wasn't clean. Tables flew. Drinks became missiles. Someone got suplexed through a wall made of memory foam. But amid the chaos, the recording drones, still transmitting, captured something they hadn't expected. Laughter. Agnes laughing so hard she forgot what planet she was on. Humans high-fiving aliens who jumped in on the wrong side and switched mid-fight. A Ilix drone singing sea shanties while being used as a shield. And, right in the center of it all, someone spray-painting a new mural. The first bar fight was a fluke. The last one was a warning. The footage went viral. Again, but this time, the message was undeniable. You couldn't clone it. You couldn't fake it. You couldn't trap it. Humanity wasn't just unpredictable. Humanity was contagious. A week later, the silent accord collapsed, not under military pressure, but public ridicule. Species who'd once feared Earth now asked to open franchise bars. Galactic academies began offering certificates in Terra mediation arts. A Kaylee monk published a bestseller titled Zen and the Art of Bottle Foo. And Agnes? She went home. Not to Earth. Not to Mars. She bought the gravity well, kept the sign, replaced the floor with dent-resistant polymers, and put up a little plaque at the door. All species welcome. First round diplomacy. Second round's destiny. And though the galaxy kept spinning, new threats rising, alliances shifting, one thing stayed the same. If there was a conflict no one could solve, if treaties failed, talks broke down, and translators short-circuited, they always turned to humanity. Because in the end, we weren't warriors or conquerors. We were the ones who showed up. We made history, one flip table at a time.